honestly never thought I would say this. I'm Sam Cutler, also known as the Fit Fatale. Welcome to my YouTube channel. You may be jumping in and joining me from another platform, and if you are, hi, welcome. I'm so excited to see you here. But if you're not, I wanted to give a little intro on who I am, what you can expect from my YouTube channel, and a little bit more on my story, and why I even pay attention to my videos. So I'm Sam Cutler. I'm just a Canadian girl living in Florida right now with my husband and our 3-pound Chihuahua. And my story goes pretty far back. I've actually been a creator for over 11 years now, I think, starting on Instagram and blog, and then moving over to podcast, TikTok, and now Pinterest and YouTube. I'm so excited to be here on this new platform. I feel like this long form content is a fun way for us to get to know a little bit more about each other and share what I'm up to and what's going on in my day. Because more so than anything right now than being a creator, I'm the founder of Mindful. And Mindful is a nutrition and lifestyle medicine app for women all over the world to help heal their chronic health conditions, support them in just achieving their overall wellness, longevity goals, and also feel less alone in your story as you work to be the best version of yourself. I'm so excited to be here today because we do a lot of long form content on Mindful. So we do a lot of coaching videos. I get to connect with my community, and the women in the community get to connect together. We actually have women in over 70 countries around the world. So if you are looking for a health and wellness platform, that is literally it. I started Mindful because something crazy happened to me 2 years ago, and I feel like that's really part of this story. When I started as a creator, I was really talking about my health journey. I actually started as a lifestyle blogger, talking about like coffees and cocktails and donuts and all the sugary things that I was doing and eating, and late nights and not sleeping and working in a toxic, culture. I was working like 80-hour plus a week, and it was really a little bit of my fault because I was just putting myself in this cycle. Super unhealthy. Got really burnt out, ended up with a stomach ulcer. I just got really sick, to be honest, and I was like 25. I had so many chronic health conditions. I had terrible skin, severe acne, but also just overall inflammation. I felt uncomfortable. I felt insecure. I was trying to date and felt like so not great about myself. I was trying to work out when I could, but I didn't really understand anything about working out. I thought going on the elliptical for like an hour was what I needed to do, or just do intense cardio. And so I wasn't really understanding anything about body composition and building muscle and just like supporting my health long term, but I didn't know anything about nutrition either. And so I really wanted to get to know how to heal myself. I was going from doctor to doctor, asking them what was wrong with me, getting blood tests, showing them my skin, showing, inflammation. People were giving me prescriptions or creams, or, saying that things looked normal, but if I wanted, they could give me a medication, or they could refer me to a specialist, or etc. So I wasn't getting to any of the solutions of what I was dealing with. So I kind of decided to go the route of just figuring things out myself. Literally took me 10 years to kind of come to this moment where I feel like I truly know my health and I've healed all these chronic condition. But it didn't just happen like that, and I didn't just go on this journey of trying to figure it out. It really took time. So the first thing that I did was I became a health coach, and I did that with just the intention of understanding a little bit more. Like I said, I was writing about lifestyle in general, and I decided to swap everything to be about health because I was on this journey. I had very few followers, you guys. I was just out there putting out content. Again, this is like 11 years ago, so this is before where there was UGC or there was the ability to make money with such a small following. It was really tough at the time, and I think I was, I probably had between 5,000 and 10,000 followers on Instagram because of constantly putting out articles, going to events, networking, building my community, but I didn't really have a story that I was telling. And so as I went through this health story, I started to talk a little bit more about health, about becoming a health coach, not taking anyone, but really just talking about how I was applying my learnings to myself and healing my own thing. And I remember the first learnings that we really dove into were about stress. And this was the moment where I was so burnt out, I was so stressed in my job, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is literally happening to me right now. I didn't understand, I knew nothing. And this is more common, and we see it across social and TikTok now. But I didn't know anything about stress impacting my gut and how that could be creating my skin issues and my inflammation or contributing to it, right? And then stress of eating a bunch of packaged processed ingredients. I didn't know anything about nutrition. So when I learned about stress, I started to think about what I wanted to do with my actual career. And I was making a little bit of money as a creator. I was starting to build that. I ended up leaving my corporate job, rebranding to build what is now the Fit Fatale. So it was like a blog first and foremost, and use it as an outlet to talk about my health story and healing what I was going through. I didn't know if I'd heal it. I didn't know what would end up happening. I thought, you know what, I'll start by kind of sharing some of the recipes, some of the workouts, some of the supplements, and it was just kind of broad across everything. I was also still young, intimidated, and not ready to be fully vulnerable with what I was going through. So I wasn't really in a place saying like, here's my skin. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm trying this, I'm trying these things. And I wasn't totally authentic and vulnerable about what I was suffering from behind the screens. And I thought that was really hard because I started to grow this community that was more local in Canada at the time because I was there. And so that community I felt isolated from because I felt like I was hiding and I would need to put like on makeup to go film a workout or show the workout studio that I was going to. So it just like kind of created this space between myself and my community, I felt. And it just never let me like penetrate the market enough, I think, because I wasn't as vulnerable and raw. And so I went through this process of trying to figure it out. And then right after I quit my job, I ended up getting a really bad concussion from a Pilates accident. So I'd gotten really into the fitness side of things, trying to figure it out. But I brought this same sort of stress and must feel it, must be really hard on myself, must figure it out into this new career change that I took. And I felt like it was the universe way of telling me to slow down. I actually ended up bedridden for 3 months. I had a really, really severe concussion. And that was kind of when I was really had to force myself to slow down. And all I could do was one thing at once, which was like listen to stuff. I couldn't even really watch TV. I just left to start this blog and this new job. And I felt like I was kind of hitting a wall. It was this moment of severe adversity. And I've had these two sort of moments in my life where I thought, oh my God, is this not going to work? And they've always kind of propelled me actually in the right direction. But that was when I was listening to a couple different podcasts, really early on podcasts, and a lot of stuff was starting to come up about nutrition and brain health and gut-brain connection. And that's where I piqued my interest more into the nutrition area and what food can do for us. So I started looking into anti-inflammatory foods. I started looking into foods for healing brain health, omega-3s, and what they actually do, how we can help support healing. That kind of piqued my initial interest into nutrition beyond diet culture that I grew up with in the 90s, because we all know that that was so toxic. It was low sugar everything, low calorie everything, just really restrictive mindset. And that was kind of the cycle I grew up in with these tabloids, how to lose 10 pounds in 5 days, and obviously not realistic. And that was kind of my understanding of nutrition, was like what was on labels, low cal, but nothing about the actual ingredients. That was where my interest started. I continued my career as a creator. I ended up reconnecting with my now husband. We moved to Toronto. We started building our life there, and then it was the pandemic. We went through the pandemic, most of it in Toronto, really isolated, really tough time. And in that process, had a little bit more time again to look at my health, and ended up discovering that I was intolerant to gluten and dairy, and that it was creating immense inflammation for my body and my digestion, which is where I started to really think, okay, hang on, nutrition here goes far beyond just what I'm eating, but really truly the ingredients that are here. Not just I had a salad, it was great, and that was kind of the level of getting into healthier food. It was more, what's in that salad? Is this gluten-free? Does this contain dairy? And that really shifted for me and lowered a lot of inflammation. My face really started to change at that point, and I started to get more and more into the health space. I turned to TikTok during the pandemic, which a lot of us did, and it was like a safe place where nobody knew me. And on Instagram, I've grown a little bit of a following, maybe 40,000 followers or so, maybe less than that, 30 or 40. And TikTok felt like this space where nobody knows me. So like my friends growing up are not going to see me. The people that already know me in my community are not going to judge me. TikTok can be my safe space. And as I was figuring out, I'm gluten and dairy free, but I don't really know what to eat. And I was already pescatarian. So now I needed to remove gluten and dairy at the suggestion of my naturopath, and dealing with more inflammation that I was still the same that I was suffering from early on, but more like bloating and uncomfortableness after eating. And I couldn't figure it out. I'm still eating healthy. Why is this happening? I started to go onto TikTok, and I started making these what I eat in a day videos because I felt like it was a safe place. It kind of held me accountable. I had a place where I could almost like food log what I was going through and build my own data points, which I talk about a lot now on Mindful, about how food was working for me, how different ingredients were working for me. And then my TikTok started to really grow, and people were really interested in my what I eat in a days. I started posting a couple recipes. I also started doing, a couple different cute things here and there. I did many far too many cringy dancing videos. I do these dances and I would put nutrition information on top. It's so funny because that was what I was the most interested in getting to know the most. I was like, how do I put this out when everybody's dancing? And then doing what I eat in a day with like trendy audios behind it. God, we all think we're cringe until we're just get over it, and you're just not, and it just works. We're all kind of cringe, that's the point. Those took off. We started going to Florida because family was down here. We started living down here seasonally just during winters, and that really transformed my life. I didn't even realize to what degree I was really suffering from seasonal depression, I really think, in Toronto in winters and in Canada in winters. And honestly, the city, like, I'm a city girl. I love New York City. I lived in New York for years before coming back to Canada. There in school. I don't know, it was just gray and it was drab and it was hard on me. Coming down to Florida gave me life and inspiration. And my TikTok started to grow and I was vulnerably sharing my story. My now husband and I got engaged. We started planning our wedding and I started talking about all the things I was doing to feel good on my wedding, which did really, really well as content, which was so fun to make. I think back of that as one of the best times in my life, just leading up to the wedding and making all the fun content around it. All the things that I was doing to feel good all the time. So great. And then our wedding came and I naturally posted what I ate on my wedding day as a bride who's gluten and dairy free, as a bride who limits processed sugar, doesn't drink a ton of alcohol, drinks some, and as somebody who has a very high consciousness around the ingredients that they eat. But also, I have a lot of empathy towards anyone else who has food restrictions by choice, medical reasons, preference, allergies, intolerances to support health conditions, whatever the reason is. I have a lot of empathy towards that because I've been my whole life kind of made fun of, or through this healing process, laughed at by waiters and friends, family even, for choices that I was making. So to me, it was really important to be inclusive. We surveyed everybody at our wedding to understand what their dietary preferences were, their allergies, anything. We were like so inclusive during the whole time. We had menus that had GF, vegan, dairy-free, like on it, as if you would go to a restaurant, because you actually could order at our wedding versus pre-ordering. And that video of what I ate on my wedding day went viral. And I don't mean viral like 1 million views. I mean viral like 100 million views, and across major news outlets, covered in so many places. Literally, the Daily Mail wrote an article and it was about how I starved my guests because we ate gluten and dairy free, which I ate gluten and dairy free, but we had other options. It was wild. There was good, there was bad, there was people arguing about the wedding, there was conversation happening. And we think back now and we think conversation is great. People are talking about you, they care about what the subject is, they're interested, there's a large conversation here to be had, whether it's good or bad. There's a misunderstanding around whole foods versus diet culture. We're eating for conditions versus being on a temporary diet. People were saying, doesn't matter if you're gluten-free, why wouldn't you just eat gluten for one day? Because it's the most important day of my life and I don't want to be sick instead of dancing on the dance floor with my husband until 3 a.m. That was my personal preference. The point being that it's up to us to choose how we want to feel, and to me, feeling good is of the highest, most importance, truly. Like, if I'm not feeling good, I can't be present with the people that I love. I can't be present with myself. I can't perform well in work or whatever I'm doing. So it just doesn't make sense to sacrifice that on the most important day. And that was really my outlook, but everybody's is different. Anyway, this whole thing made me go under a rock. I felt like my career was over. I felt like giving up. I felt like everybody hated me. I was truly scared to leave my house for a bit, and it was really messed up. People were sending me death threats. They were telling me to never have children, I should die, calling me almond mom, final boss, literally the most ridiculous things. Not to mention the news articles, not to mention literally podcasts in Australia about me.
But she said, do you want to see my day on a plate for the wedding?
Oh!
Now, obviously, she's quite fit. She's in great nick. But I feel really sorry for everyone else who is a guest at the wedding.
Radio shows, like, oh, it felt like the world was over. My husband is the most loving and supportive person, where he dragged me out of my darkness saying, this is great. Like, this is a great conversation. We're having powerful conversation that needs to be had. Like, you were sick. You were so sick. I've seen you before this. You've healed yourself. And this conversation needs to be had. And I slowly started to sit with this idea as days and a couple weeks went by and I got on board with this, realizing, okay, there is a much larger conversation here. Why is this happening? Why is this viral? One, women are suffering in silence. They're not actually talking about what they're going through. They're really isolated and alone, and they're sitting hiding from autoimmune conditions, tolerances, or just wanting to feel good and feeling ashamed because they actually want to feel better and feel good. Number two was really the diet culture is still so prevalent and the leading conversation in women's health, and that weight is still the most important thing we keep thinking about when it's not the most primary metric of health. Truly, there are so many other metrics that really do matter way more when we talk about longevity and health, but toxic diet culture is still at the forefront of women's health, which literally makes no sense. And we need to change that conversation. And when we see women honoring their body and making choices to move away from processed ingredients or whatever choices they make for their own health and for their bodies and for their nutrition, we're viewing this as dieting. But it's actually just sustainable nutrition. It's actually just eating real food. Women around the world are going and asking questions about their health, but are being sent for tests and expensive treatments that aren't actually solving what we're dealing with. And we're sitting here confused, spending tons of money, isolated, seeing diet culture still at the forefront of women's health. It's a really frustrating and toxic time. And there's a lot of misinformation between social media and between news outlets and between AI. There's literally so many places to find this information, and it's confusing. But what information really matters the most is actually how we feel. How does that make you feel when you eat it? How full do you feel? All of these things. And I had kind of figured this out, and I was sharing this through my What I Eat in a Days. But when it went viral, I realized, hold on, there's literally millions of people that this is foreign to. Me and my little community, we get this. I've cultivated this community. I understand it. I've healed. They know what I've gone through. But other people don't understand context, and they see this as dieting. This is a much larger conversation to be had. And through my entire story, this is literally the biggest pivotal moment, because it was almost then that I realized, okay, I know I'm going through this pain and suffering to come out the other side with a purpose and with a meaning and with a goal for the adversity that I've gone through. But beyond the adversity of my wedding and honestly having a hard time even looking at wedding photos after, really just feeling disconnected and really struggling, beyond that, I went through years of suffering, physical suffering, emotional suffering, confidence, feeling depressed, anxious, really terrible. And why did I go through that? I mean, it could be argued, but I really do think, looking back now, it's to be able to sit here and tell this story of how I've actually healed it. And then the world smacked me in the face and said, you've got to tell more people about this. Part of why I'm doing this YouTube channel, but also because I wanted to create something that could help people in that moment. I was like, what can I give people that can help them realize this isn't diet culture, this is actually just healing, this is actually just eating. And so on the flip side, once I kind of quieted the noise of people getting so upset and outraged about the wedding, there was this whole other beautiful side of it that I wasn't seeing. The loudness, the haters, the bullies, they were so loud. I wasn't even paying attention to the thousands of women around the world coming to me and asking for meal plans, asking me if I could do one-on-one coaching for them, how I did it, asking for guidance. What are the nutrition tools that you would suggest for me? What are you eating? What are you making? Begging me for this. And I thought, okay, I don't know how to solve this problem just yet, but I know I'm going to try something, because I'm not going to leave these women hanging. They feel like I felt years ago, and I know how crappy that felt. I know how isolated I felt, and I know how terrible that was. And I'm not feeling the best right now when I was feeling this post-wedding, because I was really nervous about what would happen with my career as a creator. And I thought, okay, I'm feeling not great. These women are feeling not great. Let me connect with them. Let's see what we can do. So I put together a meal plan PDF and we threw it up. We thought we'd sell 20 of them, to be honest. I had a much smaller following community, and we sold 600 in the first week. We had this week frame where they could buy it, and then we shut it off. It was the last week of May, and then we launched it for June, which is crazy. My wedding was the beginning of May, so all of this happened relatively quickly. And then we shut it off. We launched this 4-week meal plan for June, and we had 600 people around the world that jumped in and joined this. And it was literally a PDF meal plan and live calls on Zoom that we would do and just come together and talk, and people would ask questions, and it was so cool and so fun. And then everyone started asking, what's next month's program? What are you doing? What are we gonna have? What are the recipes? What's the meal plan? People were messaging me, I'm feeling better, my skin's getting clear, I have so much energy, my bloating's down, I'm losing weight, all the things. And they were like, well, what's next? Keep guiding us. And I thought, oh my gosh, now I have to do something about this. So I took that and decided to invest in building a platform that was not a membership platform yet. It was just a website where we had one-off programs every single month, and we launched it and we called it Mindful because it was all about mindful eating, eating freely and living fully. So filling up your entire life with all the amazing things because you have so much food freedom. Designed a logo, we made a website, and we launched it in September 2023. And I started calling myself the founder of Mindful. It was like becoming a mom of this new company that I birthed, and I don't even know if I birthed it. I feel like as a community we created it together, which is the craziest part because it's still so community led and so freaking awesome. From that, we ended up building this platform. It was still a little tough to use. You know, we had it on a website. It was just logged in, and each month it was a lot of manual lifting, a lot of work, and we knew right away we needed to figure out a way to make this a little bit more seamless and turn it into a subscription model. So in April 24, I think 7 months later, we launched Mindful app, which is now in all app stores around the world. We have women in over 70 countries around the world on our app. We have built-in community, which we had like a janky WhatsApp group that people could join that was like off platform and all the stuff. And we switched it to be all video based. So everything is video based recipes, kind of like the old days when I was cooking on Instagram and sharing things that helped me. And we do video-based recipes. We have over 500 recipes on the platform. We add new ones every single week, by the way. So I don't know, that's probably more by now, 600. It was like 500 last month, but we're just adding and adding. We have a new program right now. We have over 6 programs on the platform. We have over 100 coaching videos. So me walking through different topics, talking about how it reacts in your body, talking about how to use different healing modalities. We have different guest experts, doctors, healers, physicians that jump on, gut health experts, big part of gut health, education. And we talk about the power that ingredients have, the science behind them, what it means. The craziest part that is so different than every single nutrition app, and this is what makes me so passionate when I wake up, is like, this is different and this is working. Like, this is a whole different way of doing things, is that we don't do any measurements. No calorie counting, no measuring, and it's crazy. Your body still feels how it needs to feel. You recognize when you feel full and you don't, and we coach you on that. We coach you on how to build a whole nourishing plate. Like, it's just such a different experience. And when I think back on what I was going through with my body and my health and my story early on, it was the confusion. And then when I figured it out, okay, I need this many calories, all right, great, this is my ideal weight, and I put it in like a calorie tracker or one of those apps or some type of website that would calculate it for me, I still was so stressed. Like, I had so much stress around, is this the right amount? I'm measuring it, I'm counting. It was never sustainable. I could do it for like 2-3 days and then I'd fall off because I couldn't keep doing that. It wasn't sustainable. Instead of thinking about building a beautiful, colorful, whole, nourishing plate that actually fuels me and understanding, hey, this has protein and healthy fats, great, this is what that's going to do for me, it's going to keep me fuller longer. So understanding that is a superpower that nobody can take away from you, and that's what I really wanted to bring to our community. So if you're new here, that's what I do. I think that we all have a story to tell. We all have something we've been through, and a lot of us are too scared to let down the wall in front of us and vulnerably tell that story. And the moment I started doing that as a creator, I grew my community so much when I started showing what my skin looked like before, what my body looked like before, and authentically just talking about healing and what I did. And the second I went through the adversity around the wedding and feeling so isolated and leaned on that community and leaned on this community of new people around the world who felt like I felt, who had the same issues, who were suffering, that was when I realized there's this need for a solution that challenges all the solutions that haven't worked. They haven't worked for us. They've been expensive, they've been stressful, they've been timely, and they haven't worked. And we still haven't figured out how to feel good. That doesn't make sense. So many of us have invested so much time into figuring out how to make nutrition work for us, but yet it hasn't. If we've invested time, we should have figured it out by now. And that's really what we want to do with Mindful, is build a sustainable solution to nutrition and a source where people can come together and feel good and change their actual mindset around food and their relationship with food. In that process, I became certified in lifestyle medicine from Harvard Medical School. We have other nutrition and medical specialists that help work and advise with Mindful. And we're just on a mission to change the conversation around women's health. It should be accessible, it should be affordable, it should be supportive, it should be community-led, and it should freaking work, you guys. I think that's the most important thing. Finding what works for us and leaning into that. So on my YouTube channel, I'm going to take you through a lot of my story, my day in the life, the process of building this company, the ups and downs that I've been through in my health journey, but also just try to be really raw with you guys and show you what the look inside my life looks like, because I don't get to do that on other platforms in the same way. And I've been looking for the right one to do it, and I think it's time. So until next time, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Sam Cutler from the Fit Fatale and founder of Mindful Nutrition app, and I will be here with you guys every single week, taking you through what it looks like to be a founder in their 30s, married, living with my love and my baby dog, and just figuring it out alongside all of you, because we all need a little more hope in how to figure it out, and you guys give that to me as well.